I'm extremely pleased and super excited to have Jemma Moore on the show. She's a 28-year-old Hong Kong-born, Herefordshire-raised actress who's recently been part of the smash hit breakout movie Shudder original Host, which was the one that was done on Zoom. I think everybody's kind of seen it. It's been a fantastic. People are loving it. Currently holding a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. How are you tonight, Jemma?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very, very good. That's so lovely hearing that read out loud.
It,
How are
it's
you, Kevin?
it's unbelievable what you guys have done. I mean, horror at the best of times is quite hard to get, and especially like a horror thriller, and then you mix in the whole Zoom aspect, and you're sitting at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think you're still top of the list on Letterboxd and all that kind of thing. Like, people are loving this movie.
I mean, the Rotten Tomatoes things is like wild. I mean,
Mm.
was it Toy Story 1 and 2, Terminator, Singing in the Rain, and Paddington 2, which I've never seen, but now I'm gonna see, as 100%. Yeah, and I think Total Film, the thing that hit me actually was Total Film called us, one of the best horror movies of all time in this group of like 30 horror films, which was like it kind of hit, like I'm processing things in this like delayed response. So I'll be like, well, someone will tell me the news, I'll be like, cool, that's really cool, gang. And then I'll be like walking down the street, or I'll be just like having my breakfast and suddenly be like, whoa. So yeah, it's been wild.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Other places you may have seen Gemma is she also played a role in 2019's Doom Annihilation, which I caught a few months back. I'm a bit of a game fan, so when it comes to movies based on games, I'm definitely going to watch. Of Louis Mandelaw was in there as well, so I'm a big fan of Louis.
Yeah,
Um,
he's cool, dude.
and of course, I recently subscribed to your podcast, the Hobbycast. And you know what? Yeah, you stop doing this because I podcast, so stay out my way. No,
It's fun, isn't it? I love podcasts. It's like so much freedom, and I mean, I'm just doing mine as pretty much a hobby at the moment. So.
very fun nature about you. The guests you have on it's nice. Sometimes I listen to podcasts that take themselves a little bit too serious. So
Mm.
it's always nice when you come across one that you genuinely just feel like these guys have got chemistry. These guys like talking to each other. It's just fun. You know?
Yeah, that's what we wanted to be. Like, it was my way of being like, how can I get people in a room where I can ask them loads of questions about their hobbies without creeping them out? So that's what I did. I started a
Pod,
podcast.
podcasting is the way to do it. It's where we started.
Mhm.
Also, Gemma is an actress, obviously, producer, director, um, kickboxer. I read, which is awesome. My absolute favorite thing that I read about you, Gemma, you used to walk pigs.
Yeah, I did. Put pigs in the Shire, I did.
I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to give me some background on that one. Like, what are you doing walking pigs?
So I went to a school that was a farm, basically.
Right.
And every break time, when everyone used to go to the playground, we'd all have to like either go and, you know, pick up rotten apples, or go, like, it sounds really quaint, but it was like actually quite hard work, and or like go out with this board and a stick and like pat these pigs on the butt and like line up as children, and then these pigs would run down this sort of tunnel of
Mm.
boards, but because the kids were so like not strong, they would just bash into them, and then the pigs would be everywhere, and it was just like the whole of break was spent chasing pigs. So it was really fun, but I could probably still like okay walk a pig. I feel like I could do it.
I like that. I like that. So first of all, one of the things I've been asking most people right now when I've been doing these interviews lately is obviously the current situation, the climate we're in, and the whole pandemic, the lockdown, and everything. I mean, it seems a bit redundant asking you this question because you made a bloody movie during the lockdown. But what else did you get up to, and how did you kind of get through these mad times?
So I'm shit at baking.
Nice.
I'm all right. I just I'm a bit like, I'll put way too much sugar or way too much something that's really rich, and then by the end of it, I'm like wanting to puke.
Yep.
So I don't think I'm a strong baker. My banana bread could kill someone probably. Like I think both in the tasting and the throwing. So let's not ever taste my baking. Then I did a lot of gardening. There's a lot of plants. You can't really see them, but there are quite a few plants in here.
Awesome.
But I've done a lot of gardening on the outside, on the inside, and I did really good. And then now they're all dead because I've like not got the time. But that was really nice. And then I was doing the hobbycast. So that was fun. A lot of editing to do because I've recorded all of them before lockdown. Not thinking it would be lockdown, and actually conveniently meant that I could just sit and edit. And then I made these like little plushie toys. Also, like one of like my friend's kids got me into like making slime. It got really to a point where I was like, what do I do? Okay, I'll take advice from a 10-year-old and make some slime.
If there is ever a time to take advice from a 10-year-old, it was during the lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, it was that and the usual quizzes and we had like our quarantine movie club, which is everyone who was in the film was in that group pretty much, was like doing Netflix parties and quizzes and all sorts. And we did like short stories every Sunday where everyone would write short stories. I never wrote one because I liked listening to everyone else. I got really intimidated because they were really good.
For obvious place, it's kind of what these interviews are all about. Find out a little bit more about yourself. And it's more about how exactly you got into this industry as an actress, a producer, a director now I saw, and all these different caps, and why films.
I used to make my parents, because I lived in the countryside, watch many, many, many shows of me dancing to the Spice Girls. I think I did an interpret dance to Sunshine by Gabrielle at one point. So my parents really did have to sit and watch me perform. And then I didn't know, when I was younger, I used to watch films and sort of look at them and just think they were so far away from where I ever was. And I used to like love them and be like, I didn't ever think until I was a bit older, like one day I want to be in the movies. I just used to admire them and be inspired by them and do my interpret dance shows. And then I got to the age of actually at school there was she's unfortunately passed away now, but there was a really good teacher who saw that I was dyslexic and, you know, knew that I was quite actually shy and really coaxed it out of me. She was called Sally Mentz and she was wonderful. And so I think that she started the confidence in me. And then when I went to my secondary school, I kind of always wanted to be in the shows, but I was always still very like nervous too.
Yeah.
But then when I went to university, I had this great university lecturer who we all sat down in this thing thinking that we were at university to study drama, therefore we were all going to be actors. And he comes in and he's got these Doc Martens and covered in tattoos, and he was like, if anyone wants to be a fucking actor, they can fuck right off out of here. We're all like, yeah, that's what we're here for, right? Yeah. And he basically like scared the living shit out of everyone. If anyone left at that moment, they would be so like, that would be it. That would be one of those embarrassing moments in life where you leave a room after someone's just sworn at you. And he was intimidating, this guy. And anyway, and then he proceeded to tell us about performing and how performing could have a political impact on people and inspire people and make change. And I think that was something that sparked definitely my producer head and creative and director head, because I created lots of live art performances throughout that. And then so I went on to drama school after that to actually study acting. And then from there we got taught how to make films. And I just had this thirst for constantly being on set. So the moment I got into London, I was doing extra work and actually I was bumped up a lot to have featured roles when I was younger. Nice. So I did Richard Ayoade's The Double, and you know, I sat being an extra, and then I got called over by the AD and then a week later I was, had my own trailer and was a feature. So I was constantly just like making sure I would turn up and put the work in. And then after drama school, I really started to see that there was not many roles for Asian women that were not very stereotypical. So then my producer hat from university came on, and I was like, actually, I'm going to make a change here, and I'm going to try and do something. So I made sure I learned every bit I could about filmmaking from an actor's point of view. And I would sit and not annoy people, but I'd sit there, probably creep them out, and just be like making notes. Like I'm like a bit of Hermione Granger, and ask a lot of questions. And then so I produced from then, and I've produced and not acted in stuff, and produced and acted in stuff. Me and Caroline Ward from Host actually have our own production company now called It Girls Productions.
Yeah, I saw that.
A short film in the film festival circuit, which is just done Woods Hole Film Festival in the States. So it kind of started more from inspiration, and then went on to the more confident I got and the more purpose I got behind it, the more I sort of started to kind of put myself into this world.
Yeah.
But I do remember watching Lord of the Rings. I can't remember what age I would have been, and just being like, I want to be in battle in a film. And I remember that was the moment where I was like, I want to be in film for sure. It was Lord of the Rings.
Because you wanted to kick ass.
I wanted to kick ass, and I wanted to ride horses into battle. I wanted to ride Shadowfax into battle, and actually, you know what? I used to love like playing with my brother's Warhammer, and me and my brother would like. It was a weird mix of like his WWE wrestling dolls, and also the like Aragorn, like the sort of figurines from something else, and then tiny Warhammers at the front, and we'd recreate these like the huge battles with like, and then my Barbie would be somewhere, and then I would have like the horses from this like, so we used to do a lot of creating, me and my brother.
So you have to say you're a bit of a nerd then.
Actually, I've just got my Dungeons and Dragons dice in this fancy little thing.
Very nice.
Look at these, pretty pink.
Very nice.
But yeah, so we're about to start a campaign, our first campaign. So I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're gonna be doing that podcasting wise or video wise, or is it just for fun?
Just for fun. I interviewed this lovely woman called Antonia Tutil, who actually is on of Dice and Pen on Twitch.
Yeah.
And so I was like getting all the know-how from her, and now we're going to start our own.
What a class name for a Twitch channel, by the way.
Dice and Pen, so good.
So you went through the university route, the drama school route, and then learning on the job kind of thing. And I noticed that you ended up on two sets in particular that really struck me. Was the Jack Ryan set and the Wonder Woman set. How did you end up on these films? Was it just right place at the right time, showing the graft, and people realised you would do the work?
So in the double with Richard Iwade, I was working alongside Gemma Chan. And then I got a call being like, oh, Kenneth Branagh is doing Jack Ryan. Have you ever done any stunts before? And I was like, no, but I've done dance and like fight and stuff like that. Not fight on the street, like fight. Fight in the street. And they were like, okay, cool. Well, Vic Armstrong, who is a huge stunt coordinator, he won awards for Harrison Ford, stunt doubling in, I can't remember which Indiana Jones, but I think all of them maybe.
I think it was,
I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And so I got my exam stuff that I needed to revise, took it to the trailer and got all geared up, and I did stunts for Gemma Chan, and there was this big scene with Chris Pine, Kevin Costner, and also Keira Knightley was there as well, which was really cool. Kevin Costner made me a cappuccino, which is like a cool thing to happen.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah. Well, I was like, it was awkward because I was like, because I'm at uni, so I had like a Tupperware and was like putting the craft into a Tupperware, being like, I don't know when my next meal is gonna be, And then so I put that, and then I put it in my rucksack to go back to my trailer, so I didn't look like I was carrying a huge Tupperware with like Tang Fastics across the like parking lot. And yeah, and Kevin Costner was like, I'm gonna make myself a coffee, would you like a coffee? And I was like, yes, I do want a coffee from Kevin Costner, which is really cool. And then I always remember Vic Armstrong going to me. He came up to me and he was like, so Jim, we're going to just smash some glass into your, which happens now apparently a lot, into your face. Is your boyfriend big? And I was like, what do you mean big? And he was like, is he big? And I was like, no, I don't have a boyfriend. He was like, good, because then they're not going to come after me if anything goes wrong. And I just like laughed, and he was just pulling my leg, but I was like, what? Okay. So yeah, that was Jack Ryan. And then for Wonder Woman, that was a really cool situation. I was an action rider, actually not from school, really great friend called Claire Duncan. She messaged me and was like, oh, there's a lady in my gym looking for white or female horse riders who are, around like 5'9", 5'8", 5'9". Are you available to come do this thing? And I was like, yeah, it's like an action rider. And then as we were training, there was one day where they were like, girls, okay, later on today you're going to have to go to Warner Brothers studio and you're going to have to get all geared out in your costumes and you're going to ride around, and Patty Jenkins is going to cast one of you as Queen's Guard because of certain reasons. And so we turn up and we're next to the Fantastic Beasts New York set.
Nice.
And we're all in gear and it's pouring down with rain, classic Britain. We're in like these like basically like Amazonian summer wear. And Patty Jenkins and the producers turn up and we ride around the middle, and I remember everyone went to shake a hand and I just let go of my horse and just reached out and took a hand, and my horse like started to walk off, and with the other hand I just grabbed it, still got Patty Jenkins' hand,
nice,
shaking it. And then the next day I turned up to rehearsals and training because we had like these vigorous training schedules to get us like absolutely hench, which was tiring and fun. I was sick at least twice. And the horse Nina Armstrong, who was Vic's daughter, she came up to me and was like, they really liked you, and they were like, you're going to be cast. So then I got cast, and then we flew off to Italy for a month, like a week after that. And then I was riding on Italian beaches and doing some badass sword fighting and stuff. So yeah, that was a big memory.
And of course, second pairing with Chris Pine.
Yeah, and actually there was like a night where we all had drinks, and I was like, he probably wouldn't have remembered me, and I just said, hey, and he did, and he's a really decent guy, Chris, actually.
I'm a huge fan, as I mentioned earlier, about video game movies. I do love a video game movie. I got to see Doom Annihilation. It's out on, I believe it's Amazon Prime and Netflix you can get it on. I gave it a watch a few months back because I'm just into those kind of movies. Even if UE Ball's attached, I'll watch it. And I genuinely like this movie. It's super fun. It's very different to the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson version we got. How did you end up on this flick, and what was it like? I suppose as well, given that I've now found out you're a bit of a nerd too.
Yeah, well, I remember back in the day, because it's like a first person, like one of the first, I think it was the first, but no, one of the first person shooter games that got real big.
Yeah.
And I remember my brother in the like 90s used to play it. And so we used to just sit there and he used to play at Doom, and I wasn't allowed to touch it because I'd ruin everything. He found out every time I'd play Crash Bandicoot, he would be like, you're not allowed near the proper games. So I just yell next to him and be like, you're not doing it right. And I always imagine, like, when I look back on my life, it's kind of like watching Malcolm in the Middle, but like my family version of that.
Yeah.
And so I did an audition and recalls for it, and got this role, which was really cool. And Tony Giglio is like a wicked director, and also Ogden, who was our producer. And then we went and filmed in Bulgaria, which was really cool. And the first day I turned up onto set, I'd managed to eat raw chicken. So like when I introduced myself to all the actors, and Archie Reese, who he's like one of my best friends, and Amma Chudder Patel obviously is like now in the hobby cast with me. Like those guys, all of them will be friends for life. We had so much fun. But when I first turned up, it was with Archie, and I'd eaten raw chicken, and I just went around being like, "Hi, I'm Gemma. Nice to meet you. I've eaten raw chicken." And everyone was like, "Oh, okay, nice to meet you. Great information, thank you." And then I was taken off to this like barn, and they handed me this AK-47 that had been decked out in like space gear. It was so heavy. I don't even know how people carry around those things. And they had blanks in them, and they were like, "You just need to go and fire some blanks." And it's not my first time holding a gun, so I did some stuff on Jack Ryan, and I've done other stuff, so it was actually really, really fun. And I was amongst quite a few lads who were quite nervous about it, so I was like the youngest of the bunch, and I was like, "Yeah, give me the gun." But also I'm like, don't condone guns at all. But also I was like a bit of a wimp when it came to stunts, because there were so many cardboard boxes, and we were getting like thrown around, and we did all these things, and Amma had like these pink socks on, and he was wearing jeans on the first day, and we were doing stunts. And then we just had these really cool sets. One day we went into the middle of Bulgaria, and Bulgaria is a beautiful country. Like there's so much beautiful scenery in Bulgaria. And actually one of the days me and Suki, Emma's girlfriend, went horse riding in the Balkan Mountains, and that was just beautiful. But I honestly thought I was going to get kidnapped at one point. But it was so great. The guy was so lovely. He like went into the bushes, and we were like, "Oh, this is where we're going to get like taken away. He's gone to get his friends," which was like so silly, because he didn't speak to us the whole time we were riding through the mountains. This was like 4 hours of like him being silent, and he disappears into this forest, because we'd seen this massive boar, and he came back out, and there were these little strawberries in his hand, and he gave them to us like Skittles, and I was just like, I'm easily very much like pleased with the strawberries and wild berries and stuff. I mean, they could have been poisonous, I would have eaten them. But yeah, and then that was I think that was like a month and a bit filming, and there was like loads of really cool stuff happening. Amy Manson was really awesome to work with. We're still good friends. What else? Oh yeah, and there was Angel Has Fallen was filming there, so we all were eating dinner one day, and Gerard Butler just sort of like walked around the corner and were like, "Hi," and he came and had a chat with us, and was like, "Oh, it's nice to see people filming in Bulgaria too."
Bulgaria seems to be a little bit of a hotbed for the movie industry right now. I've seen quite a few films have been filming out there.
Yeah, it's you know what, it's they've got a studio set up, and it's like a mini Hollywood.
Nice.
Well, that's what they call it, like a mini Hollywood, because it's like we managed to sneak behind set one day and do this sort of photo shoot all in our Doom gear.
Nice.
And it was like in an old town, Western American, and then there was like a drive-through, and there was even like an old sort of like an old sort of petrol station from like golden Hollywood age. But yeah, that was really fun. And then it had mixed reviews when it came out, which is totally understandable. I get it when someone's so attached to a game.
Yeah.
It's really hard to, the first one was, we got a tweet actually from Dwayne, and
Nice.
And it just said, "Good luck. I hope it's better than what we did," or something on those lines.
I mean, that one's not that bad. It's just not great either. I did like yours. I liked yours. It was a lot more fun. I don't think it took itself. I mean, going back to podcasts taking themselves too seriously, I don't think your version took itself all that seriously. I think it knew what it was, and they were trying to cater to the game fans as well as the casual moviegoer. So that's where the difference is, because I think in the first one it was like, we've got Carl Urban, we've got The Rock. Let's make a movie based around Carl Urban and The Rock.
Yeah. And Tony was very good at leaving little Easter eggs in,
yes,
for game fans to find, And I think that's like a really nice touch, because then there's a little bit more to do sort of when you're watching it.
Well, the game fans need to be tested as well. So,
yeah. Games. I'm just getting into like gaming now as well, and I just did the voiceover for Neo 2.
Yeah, I saw this,
and that was honestly like, the graphics now are just unbelievable, aren't they? And it's just getting better and better, and with VR and stuff like that. My brother literally just comes around here now when I'm like, can you come and puppy sit? And he'll literally just come around here, like plug in everything and then just sit on our couch. and then so I'm like, still feel like I'm a kid, and I'll sit there and be like, what's this? He's playing this Japanese game at the moment. I've forgotten the name of it, but it's like set in this wartime, and it's just the graphics. I just never seen anything like it. It's just unbelievable.
How different is I guess it would be different, the voiceover work to movie work? Like, is that a completely different skill set altogether?
Yes and no. I think the biggest thing is you've got to be able to take direction. You've got a short amount of time to hit those emotional marks in your voice. And sometimes you're selling something as well, like you're selling a character or anything like that. So you literally have to have, sometimes you have 20 people in the other side on the window, and they all have their say in it, and you have to cater to every single person's direction. And sometimes it is just like a stab in the dark, and you're like, don't know what everyone's just said, but I'm going to go for a different take of a different style where I think they're going. And then they'll be like, that was great. That's exactly what we're asking for. Like 20 different things. That's exactly what I've asked for. And you're like, cool. Yeah, cool. Didn't really take on what was saying, but I just went for it. So I think there's like the same, you have to make bold choices, and you have to be brave, and you have to learn to take direction, because that's something that, you're working with clients. And I think the same with acting. You're in a room as an actor, when you get to your recalls, you'll have a director, and he'll be like, I need this, I need that. And sometimes they're not very clear with what they want. So you have to be able to translate that into what you understand, and then translate that back again so that they're able to read what you're trying to say. So it's this sort of weird sort of tango dance thing with communication that you have to do, and I think both lend themselves to that. But it is weird being in a tiny room with a microphone running around pretending you're being stabbed.
I think it's Host, the movie that I would really love to talk about. I was blown away by this. I really was. I'm not a massive fan of sort of found footage horror. So when I read the synopsis and saw that it was on Zoom, I was kind of a little bit like, okay. And I sat down and watched it, and I absolutely was in from the second it starts. You girls' chemistry in the movie is fantastic. Even across Zoom, it works really well. And then the thrills start coming. And I was sitting there thinking, there's only about 20 minutes left of this now, because it's not exactly a long movie either, but yeah, you guys smashed this. So I guess my first question was how you got involved in this.
Well, we are all friends, and we have this group called the Quarantine Movie Club group. And then, as I spoke about before, Rob decided to put a prank on us. It went viral. And then he sent us girls, he started a WhatsApp group with us girls saying Zoom. And then he was like, hey guys, do you want to come on Zoom and have me and Jed want to talk to you? And all the girls immediately went, funny, no, absolutely not. And then someone went, do we need to wear makeup this time? and then so is it going to go viral again? So then we jump on, and Jed and Rob, who had been planning this and obviously had been in talks with a few studios, Shudder included, and gone with Shudder, and they now needed to tell us that they wanted to make a movie, and it was going to be a seance. And then would they like us to do I think they told us on like a Tuesday, and they were like, oh, and girls, we're going to do a real seance on Friday. To which we all were like, no, no way, after what you pulled. And then, so we did the seance, and a book fell off my bookshelf, much to my horror. I'm actually very scared of the dark, and we had to sit in the dark with a candle, and then a book fell off my shelf, and I thought I was gonna get captured, because the lady was like, yeah, they will touch you, and I was like, oh, just like it will feel like a brush, and she was like, no, sometimes it can feel like tension around your throat, or you can feel like someone pushing you from your back. And I was like, what? And we all put these like protection bubbles around ourselves, and like imagine this like bright light of sunshine before we did it. And so when the book fell off my shelf, I freaked. I stood up like in Host, and instead of doing what Jemma character did, I actually cried. And then from then they, Jemma Hurley, Jed Shepherd, and Rob Savage, they all got together and they came up with this scriptment, and they sent it all out to us, but they redacted everyone else's deaths apart from our own. So we knew what was happening with us, but we didn't know what was happening
wow.
with everyone else.
Yeah.
And there was a few lines in there, but it was mainly like the arc of each scene and where it was going. And then we sat down and we would go through it all and the beats that we needed to hit. So we'd have these Zoom calls where we'd be like, okay, and then Rob would talk us through it all. And then I think the day before we started filming, we all got on Zoom with Rob and we talked him through every single point. And then we started shooting, and it was the quickest turnaround. We got a script on a Wednesday. We were filming that Sunday already. I think some people were filming on Friday, and then we were in it for 2 weeks, and then it was about a week and a half, and then it was out, and now I'm sat here with you, having enjoyed,
Exactly,
pretty much almost a 12-week turnaround.
That is insane. Like I suppose as well, once you've decided that we're going to use this Zoom format to put a movie out there, let's be honest, when we look back at this time period, it is going to be the Zoom era, because it's what we've done life on. Basically, it's what we've lived on when everything stopped. So it's kind of like you needed to kind of turn this round nice and quick to get it out there before, because I think I might be wrong, but if this movie came out maybe a year from now, it maybe doesn't hit as hard as it does right now, because like I say, we're all living life on it. But before we sort of get any further into that, can you tell everyone a little bit about your character, Jemma?
So Jemma the character she's sort of the sarky, likes to push people's buttons a bit, or likes to say outrageous things a bit, and sort of has this ongoing competitive streak with Hayley, where there's always this one-upmanship constantly going on, and she's very unhappy in her life. The choices I made was that she's actually going through a really hard time. So the harder she puts down on Hayley is because actually she doesn't want to hear how Hayley's day is going or whatever's going on with Hayley, because she can't hear anything but her own pain that's going on inside of her. So she just sort of tries to pretend that she's okay and she's doing good and it's great, and as soon as anything like this, she just to shut down the Zoom, it would just be her alone in her flat. And anyway, so she doesn't want to take what Hayley has put in the group seriously, because that means Hayley has won. So she is constantly prodding and joking around in it. And at the moment that Hayley actually starts to happen to her, she takes that away from Hayley, because she and will lie about it, and has all these sort of, she's a bit of a gaslighter. She's a bit of a tone, like she likes to tone police a little bit, and but actually when things start happening, can I spoil things?
It's completely up to you, I guess.
I'll sort of be
not
vague.
not too much. Not too much.
When things start to happen and something happens, she sort of snaps out of it, and like a lot of people, I feel like, have this streak in them where, you know, they're kind of they're not coasting through life, but they're kind of coasting through their situation, and something serious happens and they can take charge very, very quickly, and everything sort of evaporates around them, and then they're very blinkered on what they're doing. And that's what happens in the end with Jemma, and she's actually, you know, very, very close to Hayley, and I think that's why she can speak to her the way she does throughout, and poke and prod.
You guys obviously had this WhatsApp group before going into making the movie and everything, so you clearly had a friendship before this, and it absolutely smacks on screen. Like, everything you guys are going through, you genuinely feel like there is a friendship here. So how long have you known each other? Has it been a long time, or did some of this friendship also build while making the movie?
Yeah, so we'd never met Teddy before we filmed, so he was a completely new addition.
Yeah.
And as of since he called us fat bitches. But no joking. When that came up, I texted him, I was like, you what? That's what I'll have you, mate. Not allowed. And so Hayley, Regina, and Caroline all we were in the same year at Central. I was the year ahead. Me and Caroline became friends after Central. I knew Hayley and Regina, but since filming this, Hayley, and Regina have got a lot closer as well. Caroline and I are just close because we have a production company together and we're like besties. I called her after the bit that happened, and I literally was like, mate, you okay? Oh my god. I was like, that's horrific, I hated it. And I spoke to her for like 3 hours of her basically consoling me. And so I think there was an Emma. Oh god, I forgot about Emma for a second. And Emma, I've actually probably known the longest. And she's a new addition for the other girls. But me and her did a commercial ages ago, and then actually we all did Jed Shepard's film Multiplex that's coming up this year as well, which is really good fun. And she's the lead in that. And then I turned up on set, and I was like, I know you, but I knew her from a commercial. So yeah, so it's all this sort of like industry, very small industry. We all know each other from different projects and jobs.
It is fantastic, and like I say, and I guess as well, you kind of took me by surprise a little bit, and I suppose it makes sense when you're saying you all got your scripts, but certain parts were redacted. I guess that means when it comes to that bit, the shock is real. Like, the shock is not just real for me as a viewer, but the shock is real for you as an actress. So you said you kind of had arcs, but there wasn't a real script. So was it just mostly just off the cuff improv? That's cool.
All of it was improv. That was said, apart from Rob would type to us and give us lines. We had a few lines in the script as well. But yeah, like, you know, all this like chit chat was improvisation. And then if Rob needed to get certain points in, he would sort of like get on my private chat and be like, call Hayley a bitch, and I'd be like, Hayley, stop being such a bitch. And then he'd be like, tell Gemma to shut up. And then she'd be like, Gemma, shut up. And then I'd be like, what? And then it would go back to improv, and then Rob would be like, okay, someone needs to, you know, say this so that we can go on to the next bit. So it's like we would have like linking bits that he would type to us. So it was like live scripting, as well as having this redacted scriptment, as well as improvising. So there was a lot, as well as us also doing all of our own filming.
That's
crazy.
There
was a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. That's... This film has this, like, as you can tell, it is proper impressed me the way you guys have done it. I don't think I've seen anything really like this. I hold my hands up. This film did super impress me.
Oh, I'm glad because we had fun making it, and it's always nice when you share it. because I feel like you feel like you're making your first, short film again, when you get that excitement and you're sitting and you're waiting for people to see it. It's that we all had that same feeling because we were making it with friends.
Yeah. So on that, the sort of the process, you're used to being on set with many people around and many different people making the machine work and everything, and obviously you had Rob on the private chat and everything. I'll shout out Rob Savage, the director, just what a job he did with this as well. But you're essentially in your own house by yourself working through these scenes. Was that tricky as an actress, or was it just like, right, just switch on and go for it?
Yeah, it was tricky. I mean, we're all very good at our jobs as actors.
Yeah.
These girls are so talented. I was very lucky to be able to have someone to react off on a laptop on my desk in a square box that's smaller than my laptop. So I mean, Regina was talking about this, about how like she was so nervous that all these other elements of like doing our own sound every morning,
yes,
making sure that you press record, like setting up all these little bits, and then we had like fishing wire, like Fort Knox, like it was like sort of like we were tangled. Like if you move slightest, you could just see something move, and you're like. But also then having the freedom of being able to move within your square and not worry if you're like here and if it's just like an eye and stuff, and Rob Savage was so brilliant at just being like, because I was like, do you want us in the frame all the time? And I remember we had this conversation. He was like, get up, move around, move the laptop around. So then we had to like strap everything on with Velcro to our laptops. And the bit when I run out my house, I look like I'm either robbing it, or anyone that tries to rob me has got a perfect deal because it's all strapped to my laptop, and I'm an easy target. So it was, once we got over the technical stuff, the acting was actually easy because Rob is fantastic at his job. He's such a good director. He gives you such clear direction. Like, it was a dream to work with him because. And we all know he's very, very good at his job, but like just him being blunt and honest, and this is what I need from you, this is where you need to go, very stripped back, so we could then just do our job, and which gives us as actors the confidence to be able to be like, like can move around and just fuck about in the space and not apart from not breaking anything because we don't want to upset Douglas Cox, our producer, and not completely trashing our houses because we're in the creative industry, we're still renting.
On that, the fish wire and everything, the stunts, like having to do your own stunts, and some of the stunts in this film are, considering you are doing them yourselves, it's pretty mental. I mean, the whole I don't want to spoil anything, but certain people going on fire, shall we say, is a bit crazy. Things getting thrown at your head in particular is a bit crazy. How was that to shoot? Because you're essentially doing these things by yourselves, and you're not all massively well-trained stunt performers. But so how was that?
So we were very lucky that we had Lucky 13 Action.
Yes.
It was Matt and Nathaniel Martin, and there was also, we had Ginny, who is trained stunts, and Anna, who was Regina, and also Emma's stunt double. So we actually had a whole house of stunts that lived together with riggers. Like Emma's house was 5 different houses. So there was lots of quick cuts in between Emma's house, and it would cut to the pyrotechnics house, and it would cut to Rob's house, and it would cut because no one wanted to throw flour over the house, and then it would cut to like Ginny's house. So we did have like them not doing a lot of big things because the health and safety on that would be just too much. But then Hayley and her partner Kieran, did the whole chair pulling
Oh,
themselves and dragging out, and which was amazing. We never knew that was coming. Rob didn't tell us that was coming, so we were like, when it first happened. And then there was um, Teddy. So Teddy does stunts as well. So his bit was like all of him,
yeah.
and with Ginny and that incredible scene around the pool. Because when that happened, I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool." Um,
I have to admit, when I was watching it and that bit happens, I was like, okay, right, okay, so this has happened in this movie, this has happened, and now we're doing this. What is going on?
yeah, making someone do that. Yeah, it was. I mean, because those two are both stunts, so they helped each other out.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. I didn't realize that.
And then my bit was when lockdown was easing, so you could, start to like
Yeah.
see, and for work you were allowed to be in one other place. And I had Nathaniel Martin in full PPE. I went into Haley's house. Haley was in her bedroom texting me where stuff was. On a desk in the far corner was little squares, Doug and Rob. And so they were directing me from a laptop in the far corner, and I was, then Nathaniel was in full PPE with like these sugar glass bottles. And then outside there was paramedics. And so we did the whole end sequence in one night. So I literally finished my shift at work and went straight there, and then was like, geared up and ready to go. And then we filmed until like 2 a.m. in the morning, where we started to get a bit like, woo, like it does when you've been on a long day. And the funny thing is there's a scene, obviously, like stuff comes out everywhere, and that was, every little bit of that was on fishing wire. And then Haley had to reset it all. But because I wasn't allowed anywhere near her, neither was Nathaniel, we just had to watch her tidy this whole room from the other corners and just sit there like late. Like, it just made me feel so lazy, and just be like, "Oh, you missed a tea bag, Haley." And she'd be like, "Shut the fuck." So that was really fun.
Yeah, filmmaking in a lockdown, eh?
Yeah. I mean, the hardest thing was the thing that normally is the easiest, and that's being in around people. Actually, sometimes I think about, but like, you don't even think about it.
You're sitting there doing your scenes and everything, and there's one scene where, and I don't really want to ruin it, but a certain function from Zoom is in play, which you set up earlier on in the movie. Was that, how real was that for you guys? Did you know that was coming, or was that a complete surprise?
Is it Caroline or Emma?
It's the on the screen kind of thing.
Okay, so that really took me by surprise, because I think the worst bit of it was, it took me by surprise because I was like, wow. So my head was going through like, whoa, this is amazing, and at the same time I was being like, I'm in the scene obviously, and was present, and was like, this is horrific and grim and really violent. And then the bit where it just switches and it goes back to what it was, that was like heart-wrenchingly sad. Like,
yes
it was like, I keep saying it reminds me of when sadly when someone passes away, but we have social media now, and they're almost preserved in social media, and I feel like that was a very slight sort of hint to that kind of like our technology preserving
definitely
in a very strange way. And the same when you see the girls' photos again, when at the end, and that was like some sort of very strange, again, sort of these obituary type images of people that were coming up. So yeah, that was a shock, and also sad. It had some like heart sadness in it.
That for me was, and I mentioned it in my review on the website as well, because that for me was one of those scenes that I'm loving the movie, and I'm just super impressed with everything that's going on. and you set that up earlier when she sort of shows you that what she's done when she's been bored. And I kind of turned on to my wife while we were watching it, and I was like, that's coming back. That's coming back somewhere, because that is an awesome zoom function that I really love. This is coming back. But when it does, you do not expect what happens. And it threw me for six. I was absolutely just like, oh my God, this film just went to another level. And yeah, I loved that. So I kind of just wanted to know if that was a straight up reaction from you guys, as you've said from everything else. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was. I'm trying to think of the horror film that Rob made us watch before we went into that. And I think it was the jump scare one, because before we would shoot, we'd turn all of our lights off, and Rob would share screen with us, and we'd watch clips from horror films.
Oh, nice.
And depending on what the scene was we were doing, it would be either very violent and horrific, or it would be jump scares. And then we would finish the scene, and to reset, he would play ABBA Dancing Queen. So it was this roller coaster of emotions that we went on. But yeah, that was, I mean, all of it was a shock.
Yeah.
The Regina bit as well.
Mm.
I wasn't expecting when she comes to the screen what to happen next. We watched that for the first time, and I think that was our first take of like this sort of it's sort of one level, then the next level, then the next level, and then it was this panic and chaos, and then it just draws out this silence again of just us being alone, and so it's just, I mean, Rob's a genius. Rob and Jed are these encyclopedias of horror, and Jemma Hurley is just so great at writing the heart in it and the friendship in it. But yeah, that was a bit. That, I think Regina and Caroline, actually all of it. And I didn't even see Teddy and Ginny until because I was redacted, so I didn't see it until we were watching it. And when we watched it for the first time, Jed and Rob watched us watching it on Zoom.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. So you know what? I've taken up quite a bit of your time now, so I'm going to start wrapping it up a little bit now. But the movie Host it's going gangbusters. It's getting great reviews. Obviously, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I just want to reiterate that because it's not the audience score that's sitting at 100%. It is the critics score, which to get 100% off the critics, well, you've smashed that. The movie's doing fantastic. It's on Shudder. I really want people to watch it if they haven't, and if they haven't, I don't know what you're doing with your life, because everybody's talking about it. So yeah, I just kind of want to wrap up a little bit there and find out what does Jemma have coming up in the future. Have you got anything you're working on? I did notice that you teamed up with Caroline, and you've directed a short film called Stalling It, which, reading the synopsis, yep, that sounds awesome. I really like the sound of that. It's nice and quirky. Well, I hope it's quirky the way it reads. But what's Jemma up to going forward?
Yeah, so Stalling It is the first in a series of It Girls. We're redefining the It Girl. Stalling It is sort of set in the ladies' toilets at a wedding in the 1980s, and it's about how in your late 20s you're still kind of like when everyone else has kids and family and stuff, Caroline and me were bridesmaids, and we were like bonding over the fact that we'd cried about like where we were in our life. Now we're here, but where we were in our life when we were like buying pajamas in George Asda for like these weddings, for hen parties, and then we've got sort of Nailing It will be the next in that series. It'll be set in a nail salon in the 90s. And then we've also got Working It, which will be set during World War II. And there's one called Pushing It, about pushing boundaries, and it'll be from the perspective of a woman having a baby in the 18th century. So there's lots about like redefining the It Girl. And,
yeah, I love it.
And then also I've got other things coming up that I can't talk about, but there's some exciting things coming. And then the Hobbycast just started its second season.
Yeah,
tomorrow's I don't know when this will come out, but every Friday comes out a new episode. We've got animals this week, so I'm talking about ant farms, and there's something called a Moo Palooza that Amma talks about, which is basically a competition where people moo. You'll hear me, Amma, and Carla try and do our best mooing, which I sound like Chewbacca. So yeah, that's it. A few things coming up, so don't be a stranger.
That's awesome. That's awesome, mate. And I will 100% be keeping an eye to see what you do next. Anything that your short movie when that's ready to go and all those kind of things. The Hobbycast, I do actually recommend people listen to that because I've been having a good little bit of fun. Like I say, there's too many podcasts out there that take themselves far too serious. So it's nice to get one that's just, talking about hobbies and having fun with it.
Yay. And we do talk about horror. There's a really good one with this podcast crossover with Macabre London, and there's some spooky, if you're from London or you want to come to London, and there are some spooky things in there that we discuss. Also, there's a house that I found that if you're like into haunted houses, it's like an extreme hobby, and I think it's called McCreary's Manor or something, and it's in America, and it has a 40-page waiver, and one of the things is like,
oh, nice.
Pay if you die. So that's coming up in an episode of the second series, which I got down in a really dark conspiracy tunnel of like research on that one. So enjoy.
Love it. Absolutely love it. One last question I'm going to ask you before we leave, and I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, is the movie Host it's doing gangbusters. People are really receiving it well, and I genuinely think that it's the current time that we're in, and everybody's using Zoom and all that. But why do you personally think it has been as successful as it has? And did you expect it?
I expected something. I knew everyone put their heart and soul in it, and I know how talented everyone is in this group of friends. So I expected something. I didn't expect it to be this well received, and even if, like Rob has been saying, even if it wasn't well received, we would have been really, really proud of it as a group of friends. And that's what we set out to be. And I think that's how it's been read. Like, we all set out to be proud of it as a group of friends and to have fun with it and be creative with it. And I think that's why it's been such a success, is because people have been like, this isn't made for money. This is made for people who wanted to exercise their creativity in a time when they weren't able to.
Definitely. I 100% agree, and it's one of those things that I've been saying to other people that have been trying to get to watch it, and it's kind of like, you don't understand. Like, these guys, like you say, you're doing your creativity and everything, but you've taken a platform like Zoom and you've used not everything, but almost everything that it has to offer. Like the features. Like, I don't want to get too spoilery and everything, but what the girl does when she's bored, she has that, and then you have Emma playing with the filters and stuff like that, and then that plays in, and that plays in a big bad way, by the way, because it never occurred to me that could work. I mean, maybe it wouldn't work in real life, but it never occurred to me that could be a thing. And it's terrifying to think if you turned your phone around, that might happen.
Yeah, it's like when cats just stare at the wall and like, what are you staring at? Stop that. And also, it's funny how you don't know like anything about like something you never knew that you were going to be scared of, and then you're scared of it. Like, someone the other day went to me, imagine if all the gravity just got really strong and we all just got crushed to the ground. And I was like, that is something that I was never scared of, and now I'm terrified of it. And Rob did that with the thing that happens, and I was like, what? I was like, why are these? I was like, don't we have enough anxiety right now?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, he uses a lot of the bells and whistles that Zoom has to offer, and I think that's why it works so well. And like I say, I'm not a massive found footage fan. We can blame the Blair Witch Project for that, but this movie, it sold me. It sold me straight away. So I think you guys have done a great job, and I realise I'm just now sitting here gushing over the movie,
Uh,
which is
no,
quite
thank
cringy.
you. No, it's not. Thank you for sharing. It's lovely. It's
But
really good to know that we've had this like effect.
I think it has, and it's not just me. It's clearly not just me because a lot of people are into it. But Gemma, this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. As soon as I had the chance to get you on here, and although it was on Zoom and you've got a bit of a track record there, I didn't mind. I was like, I did ask for Skype. I thought you might, but no. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. I feel like you're somebody that we need to be keeping an eye on, and that's why straight away I was like, yeah, I'll do this.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all your kind words. And yeah, keep in touch.